So I think it's safe to say that Madam Web has united almost the entire internet against it, with negative reviews all over YouTube and Rotten Tomatoes. It absolutely appears that we're going to have another female-led superhero film bomb at the box office. But what about that small percentage on the internet that's not falling in line with common sense? That small percentage that's actually praising this movie? Who are these people? Well, they're pretty much who you'd expect them to be.
Madam Web is ridiculous. It makes no sense at times. It's over the top. And I have to say, I kind of enjoyed it.
The alphabet people. You know who I mean.
LGBT folks to women. It's not made for just straight up dudes. So I appreciate this movie in that aspect.
Of course you do.
The alphabet people and feminists are pretty much the only ones I've seen praising and defending this movie.
Because they're retards.
Hannah Rose over at CBR gives it a positive rating and says, although it gets its feet a little tangled at the start, Madam Web weaves a strong and cohesive narrative, celebrating feminine leadership, a rejection of pessimistic fatalism, and the empowerment that comes with embracing responsibility. Tell me you're a feminist without actually telling me you're a feminist. Rosie Knight of The National gives Madam Web a 3.5 out of 5. The charming cast, spooky supernatural tone, and often genuinely funny script, it's not. Madam Web is definitely in on the joke. Make this an enjoyable popcorn film that's likely to become a bit of a comic book cult classic in years to come.
I don't see it happening.
Michael O'Sullivan at the Washington Post gives it a 2.5 out of 4 and says Madam Web is no blockbuster, but in its own quiet way, it manages to break down a few barriers. I mean, in a way that's true. It got people on the internet that normally disagree with each other to agree with each other for once. And then, of course, we have the just give it a chance and just enjoy it for what it is crowd.
Do I think Madam Web is an awful movie? To be honest, not really. I sat down, turned my brain off for a little bit, and just enjoyed the wackiness. Enjoyed not having to understand plots of this, or this.
The thing is, if you go into this movie with the turn off your brain approach, you're probably just going to end up falling asleep. Rachel Leishman of The Mary Sue. This is the woman that tried to cancel Nerdrotics a few days ago.
She's a malignant cunt.
She gives the movie a 3 out of 5 and says in her full article, sometimes you just want to watch spider people do their thing, and that's what Madam Web was for me. And hey, I am woman enough to admit that maybe this was the kind of movie that was made for Spider-Man fans like I am who just love to exist in a New York that Peter Parker knows and loves. But honestly, Madam Web is just fun to watch. Yes, the I had fun while watching it defense returns for Madam Web. What a shock. And Jamie Broadnax of Black Girl Nerds agrees Madam Web is suspenseful and action-packed with a substantive origin story that really helps set the stage for this franchise to build on future narratives. It's a truly fun ride. Gives it a 4 out of 5.
You must be on crack.
And the action-packed scenes that she mentions are pretty much all the same. It's 4 women getting chased by a fake Spider-Man. A strong premise, a talented cast, and some of the dopiest moments on the big screen in recent memory. It's a bit of a mess, although not without its notable moments. Gives it a 12 out of 20. I don't know what kind of score that is. Maybe it's an Australian thing. Madam Web is not the unmitigated disaster that its clunky trailer or its calendar spot in February would suggest. Says Chrissy Lemire, a top critic, giving it a 2.5 out of 4. In her full article, she says, Madam Web is blissfully breezy in its pacing, which helps make it a more enjoyable watch than some of the super serious end-of-the-world fare we often see. And this is something else I'm seeing a lot of from these people.
We live in this era where we have to make the most serious content, and this is a disgrace to my superhero movies.
They are shitting all over other movies in order to elevate this one.
Girl, y'all weren't there in the bad times, like the dark times, the times where I was shaped and molded by a Spider-Man 3, by an X-Men The Last Stand, by a Constantine, by these kind of movies that aren't perfect.
I mean, at least those movies had some action and weren't constantly running away from the villain. And speaking of the villain, Ezekiel, fake Spider-Man, is one of the worst villains I've ever seen in a superhero movie, maybe ever. Alonso Duralde of The Film Verdict gives Madam Web a positive rating. Despite a tangled narrative web, this arachnid superhero saga makes a far better would-be tentpole in Sony's Spider-Verse than The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Venom, thanks mainly to Dakota Johnson.
I think this is better than Morbius, it's better than Venom 2, it's kind of right under there with the first Venom.
Conveniently, this guy fails to mention that the same writing team that worked on Madam Web also worked on Morbius. So I think it'd be fine to put those two films on the same level, but Madam Web and the first Venom movie on the same level, I don't fucking think so. And in case you were wondering, this guy is a certified Rotten Tomatoes critic, by the way.
Pathetic. You're a freak.
So I guess in closing, I would have to say, do not go see this movie. Do not waste your money. Don't even bother watching it on streaming, even if it's for free, because in probably about a week or so, people are going to completely forget that this movie exists. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.